Anne, Claire and John, thanks so much for coming in to chat to us tonight. David.
The eating disorder anorexia nervosa can be incredibly distressing, difficult to treat and potentially fatal, but it can be overcome, and in a moment we'll be speaking to Emma O'Toole, who's now thankfully recovered from her encounter with anorexia. But first, here's how her father James explained the struggle to get treatment for Emma, reporter Ethan O'Brien in October 2016.
Paediatric hospitals are not the place for children with eating disorders. We were told by a medical team and a psychiatric team that this hospital had a full suite of programmes to deal with anorexia nervosa. We took that at face value. We did not know at that point that that was not the case at all. 6.5 months down the road, we realised that they didn't know what they were doing. Emma needed so much more and she wasn't getting it, and the situation just went bad worse.
Emma was eventually sent abroad for treatment, but it was another battle to keep her there.
Within 3 weeks of Emma's transfer to the UK, we were being told by the treatment abroad that your daughter's getting moved to another public hospital in the UK. The public hospital couldn't be found in the UK. Your daughter would get moved to a hospital in Germany. We had to badger people. I wrote to every politician that I could think of looking and advocating for Emma. We got embroiled with the treatment abroad scheme, which should never happen.
Her family eventually won the fight to keep Emma in London, and she is finally getting the help that she needs.
Emma is in a good place, managing. We're on a road, I suppose, to recovery. It's going to be a road that has bumps along the way. There's no two ways about that. Emma is coming home more and more often now for 4 and 5 days, stays at a time, and we're hoping in the new year she'll be home for good.
And Emma tells me now, Emma, thankfully you are home for good, thankfully you are healthy, and you're so healthy looking, it's difficult to believe that you were so very close to death.
Yeah, I think anorexia is very destructive. And even when I was on my deathbed, I feel like it didn't allow me that I was that unwell. I had people around me telling me that I was going to die, but anorexia was in my head telling me there's still nothing wrong with you, and they're all lying.
And this is one of the really awful things about the disease, that people are convinced that there's nothing wrong with them, that they are not unwell.
I think, yeah, it plays tricks in your mind and to others, because everyone from the outset can see how unwell you are, but you don't realise what you're doing. You're using it as a coping mechanism, but really it's killing you from the inside out.
And at your worst, as you described it, as on your deathbed, I mean, you weren't speaking, I believe, several months, you weren't eating, obviously, wasting away, and yet still mentally you felt you were well.
I didn't think I was mentally well. I think the team that I was with in the hospital assumed I was better because I was better. But really my mental state got progressively worse in those months in that hospital, which led me to having to go to the UK for specialist treatment, yeah.
Okay, and going to the UK, different scenario, different treatments. What was the difference? And obviously different things will work for different people, but for you, what was the difference with going to Britain?
I think I felt the team there really understood me. The people who work there, they want to treat anorexia, whereas here that I was placed with, they're just general nurses and doctors. They don't have a speciality in this care. So they made me realise that they wanted life for me. They never gave up on me. Every day they told me, we know there's a person in there and we're going to get her out. So one day I believed in myself and I spoke again, but it took me 4 months after my admission to speak and eat again over there.
So you weren't able to communicate at all, really, or you weren't prepared to communicate at all with the people you were with?
Well, I think my mental state just got so bad, I was traumatised, that I just shut down because I wasn't getting proper care for anorexia. It was just physically treated. So in the UK, they really worked with me to speak, and that was my turning point. I began to speak again.
Because people say that anorexia, that the weight loss is a symptom, it's not the disease. The disease is a mental one.
Yeah, it's like a destructive force in your head that there's no choice to not eat. Like it's you have to not eat because that's how you cope. Like you can't break the rules. It's very much like you can't go outside of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people around you find that very difficult because they think you're doing it on purpose.
And the people around you, of course, are obviously struck by that physical manifestation, by the fact that the weight is falling off you. And you at one stage you were being in ICU, you were being fed with a tube and all that sort of thing. Yeah,
I was sedated in ICU for 5 days, being tube fed, which is very... It brings you to the lowest of lows, but even at that, like that, I'm so happy because it brought you there, you know. Sometimes it sees the tube as a victory statement, you know, which is so bonkers when I look back because I was dying, but yes, that was like anorexia achieving its greatest.
I know you're very anxious not to say or do anything that would be triggering for anybody else, and that's why, you know, no photographs of you at the worst. But yet, on the internet, there are pro-anorexia websites. There is stuff on social media that would go down a particular route. That must be terribly, terribly dangerous.
It is dangerous, and I see a lot on Instagram and stuff that mental health is kind of a trend and something to achieve, and really people really suffer with this, and it's not something to mess about or promote it as a lifestyle, because it nearly took my life away, and I wouldn't be here today if I didn't get the treatment that I got in the UK.
Should it be banned?
Definitely. It's banned in Australia and the UK, so Ireland really need to get on that.
And what about the facilities that are available here, the treatments that are available here? I mean, obviously your experience was that you needed to go abroad. Does more need to be done for this here?
Absolutely. I think it's very much seen as a medical crisis, which it is for some people, but the mental side is so important, because it's not just about weight. Like, your mental state needs to improve. If you restore someone's weight and they come back and they go back to their ways, you haven't helped the mental side. So the mind needs to get well with the body too. It's both.
I know there will be people watching you tonight who are either suffering from anorexia themselves or know somebody who's going through it. What would you say to them tonight?
I think they need to accept they need help, and if they can't get help here, treatment abroad must be promptly they must get it promptly, because you can't really wait 7 months for someone to get treatment. It took me a lot to come home. It took me 2.5 years after waiting 7 months for treatment. So if someone needs treatment, they need it now, and they need the right treatment.
The fact that you're here, the fact that you're, as I say, you're looking so healthy, means there is a way out though.
Oh, definitely. I think I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't decide to leave anorexia. It's very difficult, because it becomes your identity, it becomes who you are. Well, you think that's who you are, but really you are something beyond anorexia. It's not you, and I think you are so enough by yourself. You don't need this to be okay.
Emma, thank you so much indeed for talking to us so openly and honestly tonight. Thank you.
Thanks.
Miriam.
And the HSE told Primetime that it has made several improvements to its anorexia services. Its national model of care for eating disorders was launched in January 2018. The programme aims to establish 16 multidisciplinary teams for adults and children right across the country, providing specialist eating disorder services. It also says that 2 of those teams have already started and a 3rd is in recruitment. Information and service related to eating disorders were recently updated, and they can be found on yourmentalhealth.ie. The HSE also funds the Bodywise helpline, which can be reached at any time on 1890 200 444. Well, that's all we've got time for tonight. Please join us on Tuesday, when we'll be asking if the government plan to massively increase carbon taxes, hitting the cost of petrol, diesel and heating your own home. And if an idea of how to stop the public outcry it might cause could actually work. For tonight, though, thanks for watching. From myself and everyone on the Primetime team, you all.